Dub Zone, a panic banger books a semi-final spot for the Mariners. Adelaide ends Western season with their first ever finals win. And Captain Kayla Morrison will join us ahead of their semi-final leg. Well, hello and welcome to Dub Zone. I'm Amy Duggan. Great to have your company for another episode, joined by A-League's commentator Teo Pellizzeri and two-time championship winner Teresa Polias. Awesome to have you guys here. Two big elimination finals at the weekend. Two teams' dreams are over, but two teams continue on to the semi-finals to take on place getters 1 and 2. So much to talk about, but what was your highlight from the elimination finals, T?
I thought both goalkeepers on the winning teams stepped up and were outstanding. Jenkins and Langman take a bow.
It was, for me, the Adelaide fans. More than 3,000 at Cooper Stadium, and the long-suffering ones getting to finally enjoy a finals win. I feel good for them because there are some that have been there since the real dog days where they would go an entire season without winning, and that was special for them, and there might be more to come.
There'll be plenty more to come. Let's get stuck into those two games. Central Coast, of course, the game up there was delayed for a day due to the weather, but let's take a look at how the match unfolded.
Two of the most charming underdog stories of the Ninja A-League go head-to-head today in Gosford. Now that fast attack from Canberra, Heyman against King. Michelle Heyman wins out. Heyman into the back of the net. Was it ever in doubt? Michelle Heyman opens the scoring for Canberra. Tiana Fuller, ball across, back post header, and it's come out to Panic immediately after half-time. Good work from Gomez, out to Panic. Jade Panic with the strike. What a goal! Jade Panic has come up big in this elimination final, but that is full-time, and it's the Central Coast Mariners who are triumphant in the elimination final.
Plenty of delight on Brooke Nunn's face there to end the celebrations for the Central Coast Mariners as they defeated Canberra United 2-1. Lots to talk about. Canberra, of course, first on the score sheet. The Mariners having to fight their way back into this one.
Yeah, it was a very entertaining match. I thought it was quite an even match and both teams kept going for it, and I thought it could have gone either way, but yeah, Pennock stepped up and came big for the Mariners.
Straight into this first big moment. Taren King, first start of the season, only a handful of minutes back. And it's interesting that we asked Emma Husband about, is Taren King back in the team straight off that injury? And she started, but I guess it's only the 8th come-from-behind win in the history of finals, T. And the first 25 seconds of the second half set the tone.
It did, and yeah, stunning goal from Michelle Heyman to kick things off. And yeah, big risk in starting a player who's come back from a long-term injury, but when you think about it, it is logical because you don't know how long she's going to be able to last out there, and I thought she did away pretty well apart from the goal. I thought she could have been a little bit stronger against a very tough Heyman opponent.
It was one I think will cause some controversy because the rule is shoulder to shoulder. Was it shoulder to shoulder? I've seen a free kick given for less, but nevertheless, Michelle Heyman burying that one and putting Canberra up 1-0. It was Jade Pennock, though, scoring a brace in this one, first coming immediately after half-time, and the second an absolute gem.
7 goals for the season now, T. So has overtaken Tiana Fuller to become the top scorer. But I think the Mariners have been waiting for moments like this, and on the biggest stage, they'll be thrilled that Pennock delivered.
Yeah, and where it's really counted, I think she'll be thrilled that those 2 goals have come at a perfect time for them.
It was a fairly physical match as well, a lot of tussle, and always in a game like an elimination final, like the semis that we're going to watch coming up, there's plenty of argy-bargy because passion, is out there and there's a lot on the line for these players. It's come at a cost. Taylor Ray, obviously, we saw ending the game on the sideline, but what did you make of the physicality of the match?
I thought it was great to see. I think it makes it more entertaining, and I think it pumps the players up when they're out there and makes for a more open and entertaining match.
I thought players took risks, especially the ones on cards. A lot of back chat to the referee in the game, particularly from players on yellows. But I think I've got to give credit to Izzy Cooper here. I mean, there are always going to be critics on social media of the refereeing, but I actually thought Cooper used really good discretion not to show a second yellow for dissent. Players walked up to the line, though, and they took some risks in this game.
Yeah, they did take risks, but yeah, like you said, credit to the ref. She read the room really well, gave a lot of leeway, I thought, and knowing it's a do-or-die match, she, certainly, I thought, copped more than she should have.
Well handled, as has been the performance of the Mariners over the last 2 seasons, back-to-back semi-finals for them now. It's been an interesting season though, because they started so well and then had that moment of capitulation in the middle, but have climbed their way back out and are in good form.
Yeah, great to see them reach the finals yet again. Huge achievement for the club, and I think they've had a challenging season with missing key players for long periods of time, and now the squad's at a good place. I think everyone's back pretty much. Hopefully Taylor Ray's able to play, but yeah, they're in a good spot.
It says a lot that they've had a few come from behind wins now. I remember around the midpoint of the season where we did a bit of a health check on the clubs. I mentioned that the Mariners' only come from behind win was the first time they played Canberra. Well, they've ticked off a few now. They've shown real resilience. There was that point there when they were struggling with that Izzy Gomez that we questioned if the opposition scored, can the Mariners score too? Well, they've answered us, and they've answered us a couple of weeks in a row.
They have, and given that it's a semi-final over 2 legs, what a great characteristic to have in your squad.
Well, they have set up a showdown with Melbourne City, and their captain, Taren King, should be back out on the pitch. Of course, you touched on her earlier, coming back from her ACL injury after over 400 days on the sideline. Let's hear from her now.
Yeah, I mean, happy now. But yeah, no, it's tough. It's you can't get match fitness without playing matches. So obviously, always tough to come on and play minutes. So yeah, just grateful that I got through as many minutes as I did, and did my bit for the team, and then the other girls stepped in as well.
That they did. Taren King making her comeback, a long time on the sidelines through that ACL. Important to get her back in now before throwing her into a semi-final performance.
Yeah, big call though in an elimination final, but she did really well. And like she said, you know, when are you going to get the minutes? You need the minutes in your legs, and I thought, yeah, she, you know, got up to the pace of the game as it went on, and you know, looking to the next match, she'll be ready.
It says a lot about the Mariners collective though that they weren't overly demoralised with the way they conceded, because the goal was against the run as well. It felt like the Mariners were building into the game, and Canberra only needed that one chance on the counter. You know, Galich has worn the armband, you know, very ably this season. We've seen Annabelle Martin wearing it, and she got the assist for the Jade Pennick equaliser. So, in a way, those leaders who've stepped up when King's been out with this long-term injury, they all had a role to play in getting the Mariners over the line. Yeah,
everyone's kind of shifted around a bit, and anyone that's stepped into a different role has done very, very well. But yeah, I think they did dominate the game in a lot of ways. I think they expected Canberra to be very transitional, and I thought, apart from the goal, they dealt very well with that.
Starting Fuller as well, had the cross in, which Annabelle Martin heads down. I think maybe didn't have the most prominent first half, and we were actually discussing, you know, the young player of the month nominees. Tiana Fuller hasn't had one because when you're only playing little 10-15 minute cameos off the bench, it's really hard to secure that against the players who are playing full 90s. And yet if you were to take who's the standout youngster over the course of the season, she'd have to be in the conversation, even though, funnily enough, she's not on the nominees list for Young Player of the Season.
It's a strange one. She has to be in consideration. I mean, the impact she has, although in small bits, she's come on, she scores goals. She got the start, which was great to see. But it's one of those ones you toss up as a coach where you're thinking, oh, they're so good as an impact player. If I start them now, they're going to have the same impact. So it's a tricky one.
Well, let's talk about leaders for Canberra as well. Michelle Heyman doing Michelle Heyman things and finding the back of the net, and has now announced she's going to play on next season.
No surprises there, Teo?
Well, I mean, her form, this was an 8th goal of the season in a team that obviously was low scoring, but she still ended up the top scorer. And she led a cluster of attackers where goals ultimately proved hard to come by over the course of the season, because Markovski's ended up with 3, Keane and Ruby Nathan with 1 each, and Janaea Dos Santos, off very limited game time, didn't score this season. So this Canberra team, they needed Heyman as the figurehead of the team. We know she's one of the most identifiable and marketable players in the league. She is effectively the face of this competition because she's here, and while we have great exports, Heyman's been the mainstay. And you talk about on-field leadership. I think Anthony Jagrenek needs a lot of credit for taking the existential crisis that hung over them in the off-season, creating a bubble around his team, and I think in many ways being a shield and also kind of just a sense check to say, focus on what we can do as a group with this season. And they should be very proud of the fact they ended up 6th and they won their way in. I mean, they beat the team that finished 7th, Brisbane, home and away. So, yes, other teams had poor form at the home stretch, but Canberra absolutely deserved their spot in this top 6.
Well said, Teo. Fantastic job from Anthony there. And, you know, they need to keep building this team around the leader that is Michelle Heyman.
Well, it sounds like she's going to be sticking around. Let's hear what she had to say post-match.
We're a young squad, but I'm really proud of every single one who stepped onto the field today and who have been there, from week one. It's never easy coming into finals with, a lot of young players, but everyone, showed their true colours, got in. It was a very rough game and it was a lot of fun, but that's finals football and that's what you want.
Well, how do you feel? You come out, we know teams are susceptible straight after half time, but that must be so frustrating.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts deep down inside. I think I said earlier, I only stepped probably 1 metre into my half that entire play, but I saw it happening. I saw it unfold, which also hurts even more because maybe I should have done something about it. Maybe I should have led a little bit better. But again, that's football and good on them to come out firing. We knew they were going to, but we were just hoping it wasn't that quick.
A true leader always asking more of themselves for a mistake that's nothing to do with them in a game. We're not going to see her in any other colour next season, are we?
I don't think so. I think she's true Canberra United player, and I think we'll see her back in green.
When Canberra's strong, this league is strong. I mean, I always say when they're up and about, McKellar Park is, always getting good crowds, and it would be nice to see a future where Canberra United kick on, and instead of, creeping into the six right at the end, they're actually up there as a legitimate contender next season. It's going to take a lot of hard work in the off-season, but I'm actually pretty optimistic about their future.
And I think them reaching the finals bodes really well for Anthony in terms of retaining players, because they're a happy camp. And
attracting players as a recruit.
Absolutely.
And if you are starved of game time at another club, you would be looking... I think Darcy Malone's the poster child for this.
Mary Stanish-Floody.
Mary Stanish-Floody, so little game time at other clubs and saying, well, hang on, I want to put my hand up, I want to break into this team. It'll be a tougher team to break into than it might have been during the current off-season. But I think if you're a young talent that wants the game time, you kick the tyres on Canberra and 100%. See if they like the look of you.
Totally agree. 2 games to get to, though. So let's head over to Cooper Stadium, where the Reds were resilient enough to get the win over Western United and book their spot in the semis.
Perfect weather at Cooper Stadium for the Ninja A-League Elimination Final. Adelaide United against Western United. 4 in the wall. Ball did its job. Game 101 is a painful one, right on the point of the nose. Consecutive corners. And in for McNamara. Matilda McNamara rises highest and puts Adelaide United in front.
She does so well to head this home.
And now the Sia Leon's got a shot going, hits the frame of the goal, and then the follow-up goes begging. Chloe Berryhill nutmegs one defender and is bowled over by the keeper. The ball goes out for a goal kick. Zimmerman slides it through. Great run by Berryhill.
Just flashes wide of that post.
Takes the shot and a good save by Jenkins. The box it goes, Berryhill, carried away, last chance saloon for Western, Eggers Vic, Jenkins bats it away, and the full-time whistle goes, Adelaide United are going to the semi-finals of the Ninja A-League.
Celebrating like they've already won the whole thing, Adelaide. The first ever win in the finals, and all thanks to Matilda McNamara's header.
Look, important for Adelaide to get over that hump T. I mean, 17 years is a long time to be in this competition with a reputation for never having won in the finals. And now I think they can cast off doubts, they can, cast off the history, and they can write their own. It must be so exciting to be part of that Adelaide squad.
Yeah, and against the team who knocked them out in their last finals run. So, lots to play for. They'll be absolutely pumped for it, and hopefully the crowd come back in numbers.
With that said, the game itself, Adelaide did not play well in this game. Adrian Stenta even said as much in his post-game press conference, and he said they found a different way to win. And again, that's such a rarity for Adelaide. It speaks to the mentality of the defence and Claudia Jenkins' individual season that they just had to absorb a heap of chances. It was 14 shots to 1 in the second half. The ball lived down at Western United's attacking end, and Adelaide didn't crack. And it says a lot about just how much they believe in each other.
Yeah, and I think there's a bit of questions over mentality though, Teo, because I thought they did start the game very well, and they scored the goal, and it looked like they were going to run away with the game. And I just feel like sometimes they go ahead and sort of stop playing a bit. And you could see Western came into the game. Adelaide barely had possession. And then at halftime, I'm sure Stenta must have spoken about, taking care of the ball in possession, and it improved slightly in the second half. But yeah, the amount of pressure they absorbed, the fact that Claudia Jenkins kept them in the game, it was remarkable.
Well, it's certainly been a remarkable, not just result in the elimination final, but a remarkable season for them, given that Adrian Stenta has taken them from wooden spooners right through to semi-finalists and potential finalists as well. Let's hear from him post-match now.
It was a challenging game, probably not our best, but we were really resilient and defended really well. And even though we gave up a lot of shots to Western, I didn't feel like any of them were really big chances. So I feel like we defended well. We were great from set pieces. And we probably could have had a couple of goals in the first half, to be fair, which might have changed the game a bit. So sometimes you just got to find a way, and we were able to do that again. We know how good Claudia and Matilda and Ella have been all year, and you know, especially Matilda and Ella. I think the national team selectors should take some note because they're fantastic players, and you know they deserve an opportunity at some point, I think.
How good is it to hear a coach spruiking his teams for his players for national selection?
It's awesome, mate. It's the way it should be, and you know they've absolutely been top of the bunch. Those three: Jenkins, Tonkin,
McNamara.
But
the thing is, last time we had an under-23 squad, Ella Tonkin started all 3 games. So to be fair, she is on the national team radar. It's just the 23s haven't played in almost a year. McNamara's a little bit older. She's 26 now. Got that 1 cap when she was playing overseas in Denmark, and it has been in the mix. You know, that Chinese Taipei extended squad. Do you think we see her for the Argentina Series T? Because, I mean, she has had a good season, but, I mean, she is now kind of in the prime years of her career. So it's kind of now or never, given that she's already tried overseas once and come back. Yeah. And you know that if she's going to kick on again, there's going to be pressure to go back overseas and try it a second time.
Yeah, I've always said, Teo, the age thing aside, I don't think it's a factor. I think you're considering all the players that are in form and at their best, and she is definitely one of those, and she should be considered.
Now, she wins a tough header to score the goal, then she gets hit in the face with that shot. What about the physicality, T?
Oh, it was fantastic in the game. She blocked so many shots, copped so much. She's an absolute warrior out there, and, you know, for her to score that goal, she got above everyone there.
That was five players.
Let's not forget the delivery. I thought both teams' delivery off set pieces and crosses was great as well, but Emily Condon's delivery off corners is so dangerous.
Just on Tonkin, she did have a long-term foot injury as well and has had to build up her game time last season and sort of back to her best this season. She's someone that's always been on the radar as well. I remember
quietly goes about.
I remember speaking to Thea Slatcher a couple of years ago. She actually asked me, who should I watch in this league? And I said, Tonkin's the one if you're looking for a centre-back. And then she went and suffered that foot injury and missed an entire season off the back of it. So hopefully this is indicative that she's now ready to take that next step as well.
Well, you mentioned she's part of the 23, so she's surely on that extended list. And
aged out, and I think next time they form.
But she's been on
the most recent time they were in camp, which was in the off-season last season. She started all 3 games over in that tournament in Sweden.
I'm sure she's on that extended list.
And clearly important to retain for next season. But let's talk about what their coach Stenta has done with this side, taking them from wooden spooners to premiership contenders. What has it been all about to you?
Yeah, look, I think Adrian Stenta spoke about the first team first culture and attitude, and I think that they've shown that all season. I think his recruitment was spot on, and I think a lot of coaches will look at what he's done, who he's brought in, and try and emulate that in their own way next season, but he's just got the balance perfect.
I think you got to, at some point, just brass tacks. They got their foreigners wrong last season. They bought in players who weren't good enough for the Ninja A-League.
Made it right
and they bought in ones that are significantly better this season. And they had to basically cut their losses, move on from the players that just weren't good enough, and replace them with better ones, and credit to them. And what can't be underrated, and Adelaide made a big deal out of this, they did find the money to bring the players back 2 weeks early for a couple of extra friendlies. They went interstate for friendlies, which is a rarity for your one-team towns, and I think that gave them a rolling start into the season. No, it is. No, we shouldn't be saying that, but in the reality,
women's team and putting in resources to get them ready. There's clubs that have like a 4 or 5 week pre-season. That is absurd. Like, you cannot be ready in 5 weeks for a season.
With regards to the bean counters at each club, I think it's a credit to Adelaide for making the decision to prioritise it, and they've reaped the benefits. And that's why we should be, yes, we can criticise other teams for not doing it, but we can also praise Adelaide for doing it, and then now they're setting an example of what's possible, even with just a minor tweak to their preparation for the season.
It excites me for next season, because I think a lot of teams teams and clubs and hopefully higher up see this and kind of emulate that as best they can.
Setting the standard for success. Speaking of success, let's move our focus to Western United, because where did it all go wrong for Kat Smith?
Oh, look, I thought they actually have, when they're on, and they have one of the best teams in the competition. Unfortunately, it's just been so tumultuous for them. The inconsistency there in defence at times. I don't think it was present in the last few matches, but the biggest thing is just not taking their chances.
Yeah.
An emotional Chloe Lagazo there, probably one of those players, Teo.
Look, it's the game itself is a really tough way to go out, because
It is.
they did everything but score, and on another day they probably win the game due to the volume of chances they created. So I don't think the way they were eliminated is emblematic of their season. I think it speaks to a bigger issue with Western United, that they're in a 3-team town with 2 other teams that are in win now mode. And I want to take you off on just the slightest little tangent as to where Western might need to look in the future, because Victory don't seem to be going anywhere. City, we know, can reload and replenish with the attractiveness of going and playing for their team. Western United, I think they need to get younger, and they need to get more Victorian, more locals, and they need to have a point of difference from the other 3 teams. Because yes, season 1, they made a grand final, but they also had Jess McDonald and Angie Beard, and they were Hannah Keane, you know.
Yeah.
But it's been diminishing returns ever since, and they've plugged gaps and they've kept the boat on the water, trying to contend for the title. I actually think hit reset and rebuild now, rather than keep chasing the dragon and be a mid-table team that is only ever really going to peak at an elimination final.
Yeah, look, that's an interesting take, Teo, but I think they do have something different to what City and Victory have, the 2 more established teams. I think they've given opportunities to players that they wouldn't have got at a City or a Victory. You know, Chiara Di Demizio, she was playing NPL in New South Wales and reserve grade not too long ago, and she's been given a chance there. Vani Prakash. I think they're a club that attracts players that, like your Canberra United's, players that aren't getting game time are going to a club like Western and making finals.
Yeah,
and challenging for trophies.
2 in a row.
Three is in a row. But
so this is amazing.
But I'm gonna put my Melbourne hat on here, and I make no apologies for this, because the players you've just referenced, and throw in Carly Johnson as well, they are all coming from interstate. When I say point of difference, I mean, let me hit you with a number here. New South Wales, players eligible for the under-20s or the under-17s this season, 20 took the field, playing 16,255 minutes. Do you want to know how many Victorian players around the entire league, not just at the 3 Melbourne clubs, took the field eligible for the under-20s or 17s this year? 3 players for 183 minutes.
Yeah.
Have they stopped playing football in Melbourne? Like, we've got 3 teams there, and I'm saying to Western United, if you've got players moving on, if Kat Smith maybe has, opportunities to further her career, we know there's a lot of shake-ups going on at Football Australia at the moment. It wouldn't shock me with Mel Andretta leaving if Kat Smith walked straight into that seat in the national team. Now's the time to hit reset, get younger, get more Victorian, and engage the local market, because the other 2 teams off chasing the title will bring in players from any and everywhere, and it's reflected in the fact that homegrown locals just flat out do not play at the Victorian teams or anywhere else in this league.
Point well made, Teo, point well made. We do have to move on and have a look at the finals tree. Who do our winners face next? Well, this is what it looks like. With Adelaide and the Central Coast Mariners progressing from the elimination finals, we're going to see a double-legged semi-final structure, home and away series. That is to come, but first we need to check in with Narlene Masto to see what's cooking on socials, thanks to Ninja.
I'm Narlene Masto with What's Cooking on Socials and in the world of women's football, brought to you by the Ninja Woodfire Outdoor Oven, which can turn any space into an outdoor kitchen. Arsenal have booked their spot in the Women's Champions League final against Barcelona after knocking out Ellie Carpenter's Lyon across 2 semi-final legs. The Gunners overturned a 1-goal deficit to earn a 5-3 aggregate win, with Caitlin Ford on the score sheet. This will be Arsenal's first European final since they won the competition back in 2007. Now that Lyon is out of the Champions League, head coach Joe Montemuro could be available sooner to take up that Matilda's job he's been linked with. Former Western United superstar Carly Johnson is already making waves over in Canada. The 21-year-old forward scored a double in Calgary Wild's 4-1 away win against Halifax Tides to kick off the new North Super League season. Adelaide United made history with their first ever finals win, and it was particularly special for two teammates who started their journey together. Dylan Holmes took to Instagram to post a very cute throwback pic of her and Isabel Hodgson, who brought up appearance number 100 for the Reds. Now it's time to head back to your Dub Zone panel, who welcome a very special guest.
Thank you, Nylene, and that's absolutely correct. We've got Melbourne Victory's captain, Kayla Morrison, on the blower with us today. Kayla, great to have you. I don't know about the shirt that you're wearing. Unless it belongs to Kyra Cooney-Cross, you're in a whole lot of trouble from me and the panel here. Congratulations on making it through to the semi-finals. Big game coming up, though, against the Reds.
Yeah. Really looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on. And yes, it is a Kyra Cooney-Cross jersey, so I feel like that should be accepted by everyone.
And Kayla, it's Jeff Hopkins' 11th finals campaign that you're heading into. How's he handling it lately?
Yeah, you know, Jeff, I'd like to say he's calm, cool, and collected, but he's a bit of a stress head, making sure that every, I's been dotted, T's been crossed. Yep, as you can see there. But yeah, I think, he's been here before, he knows what it takes, and so he's just giving us that energy.
And Victory versus Adelaide is one of the original rivalries. Now, you ended their only finals run back in 2022, so they're going to be extremely pumped. Is this something you're warning your squad about?
Yeah, I think when we were watching the finals games between them and Western United, we're ready for Adelaide. We think they bring the best out of us, and I think it'll be a great game. It's a game that you have to be ready for, so it doesn't take any extra motivation. We know we all have to show up if we want to win this game.
We're watching some of the highlights back here now. Round one is almost ancient history. It was back on the 2nd of November, but you did play them only recently at Amy Park. So how have you seen the two games against Adelaide? Victory have won both, but you didn't keep a clean sheet in either. They, both teams were scoring, and they were only decided by last-minute winners on both occasions. So how's it left your impression of Adelaide as an opponent?
Yeah, I think they're definitely a good opponent. I think they've got a good attack. So it's something that we will watch out for. But in saying that, I think it's something we've prepped for all season. We're ready to go against, some good front lines, good midfield. And yeah, hopefully we can shut them down, and hopefully we'll put away our chances and score.
Well, speaking of putting away chances, Kayla, you have scored 4 goals this season, and remarkably, every single one of them has been a match winner. How do you find that extra gear to do that for your team?
I think, the energy comes from the girls around me. They, I think I've scored them on set pieces. That's, what we've trained is to get the ball in, and we've had good service this year. Girls make good runs, they block, they do things that they need to do. And yeah, I feel like that's kind of my job in those moments, captain the team. And when the going gets tough, I got to get going. So yeah, I think that's just kind of the energy that we've kind of brought this year, and hope to continue bringing that.
Now, when we've spoken to you in post-match interviews throughout the course of the season, I think it was actually after this game against Western United where you scored the winning goal, you mentioned that Jeff, all he thinks about is defence and training defence. But ahead of a game against Adelaide where, you've scored, I think, 3 headed goals out of the 5 against them this season, is that something that Jeff has emphasised, attacking and how to attack at set pieces, or is it still just all about defence?
No, we definitely still do most of our focus on defense, but in saying that, our God-given talents are height and the ability to jump and good service from the girls taking those set pieces. So that's when our own creativity and competitiveness comes in, is get up, win your aerial duels. And, if that's going to be our goal-scoring opportunities, then we need to take them.
I wanted to ask about one of the defenders, and we spoke mid-season, I think it was after the win against Perth, about yourself and Bunge educating Alana Janchevsky and Laura Pickett on either side as the fullbacks. But Pickett in particular, what a season, given that she only made her debut in that round 1 game against Adelaide. Given her height, given her strength, do you see her as a future centre-back? And I guess what I'm getting to here is, having now spent a season alongside her, how good could she actually be?
Yeah, I think she's really young, up and coming. I think, She's strong. She's, she wants to learn. She's, very easy to talk to when you're trying to coach her. And those are things that it doesn't always come, especially to the youth. I hate to say it, but she wants to be there and she's ready to do the hard work. So I think it's going to be up to her how far she wants to go. And the only thing that will stop her will be, herself. So I think with the attitude that I've seen from her, she's going to do just fine and she'll go to where she wants to go.
And at the other end of the field, Kayla, Holly Furphy seems to have the attributes to become the X factor for this team. How have you seen her grow over the season?
Yeah, I've actually known Holly since before she went away to school. So it has been amazing to see her come back and see the transformed person she has become. She's just someone who wants to get it done. Like I said, she's competitive as well. Whether it's off the bench or starting for us, she knows her role. She doesn't always accept, if she's a bench player, she's going to fight when she gets on that field to get her starting spot. And that's what we want from everyone. So I think if you're going up against a girl like that, it's really hard to shut them down.
Speaking of shutting people down, our interview's almost over, but I can hear some noise in the background and you're clearly outside a shed and you've wrapped up training, Kayla. So what on earth is going on in there?
Yeah, just having some good team bonding, going into finals, trying to stay lighthearted. So did a little bit of a pickleball tournament today. I think the grand final just happened. And if I had to take my guess, Paige and Chids would have won. They both have a tennis background. So I think it was a bit of cheating that they chose each other, but we'll let them have this win.
Oh, you'll let them have that one as long as they bring it on the weekend. All the best, Kayla, captain of the Melbourne Victory, in your match against the Reds, or the first leg of the semi-finals against the Reds. We'll all be watching you. And, good luck, but not too much luck because I'm supposed to be unbiased, right?
Thank you.
All right, Kayla Morrison there, captain of Melbourne Victory. I want to touch on Adelaide because there's something that you picked up in there, and it was the heading strength of the Melbourne Victory side, even though they focus on defence. But Adelaide has been quite susceptible to goals from headers this season. And
it's something, T, that we've talked about in previous episodes, because even though McNamara and Tonkin are two of the tallest centre-back pairings, if you're not in the right position, you concede unmarked headers. We saw the M. Gielnik footage earlier. This game is stuck in the memory. Devon Jackson and then Claire Adams, who's actually quite small, but it was a brilliant header. And I think Adelaide, I'm not necessarily sure they're better at this, but this has to be the number one thing that they'll be working on before two legs. I mean, this is, again, Naomi Chinema is not a towering presence, but rises to score that header, and then Gabby Holler in the very same game. So it's been a repeating theme throughout the season.
Yeah, and I think that's purely down to desire there. I don't think there's Adelaide players in and around the area and simply the other team wanting it more. So absolutely when it comes to finals, and they know they're up against a Victory side who are strong on set pieces, so they're going to really have to make sure they're on.
We've spoken to Kayla about a couple of players that stand out for Victory, but let's talk about a couple of players that have stood out for the Reds. Obviously, their imports have been fantastic, but something else, Teo, that has been crucial to their success has been the increased minutes to Emily Condon.
Now, not just an increase of minutes. I mean, going back and looking at the numbers, T, I was stunned at the contrast. When they last made finals, the 21-22 season, Emily Condon was being managed. She rarely played a full 90. She played 901 minutes that season. The last two campaigns where Adelaide missed the finals with a disappointing slide and then won the wooden spoon, 840 minutes combined across the two seasons. And then this season, 1,691 minutes. Now, I know the seasons have been getting progressively longer, but Emily Condon's game time has been getting progressively longer. And this is a player with one Matilda's cap some years ago now. And I think I said it in the match call on the weekend. If she can get to being a 90-minute player, we're going to get back to the player who was at that level. And yes, she's in her mid-20s now, more mature, knows her body better, but what an exciting talent. And you're looking for the reason Adelaide have transformed from spooners to contenders. It's there in black and white. Less than 400 minutes last season, 1,700 and more this season.
You found the stat, Teo. I mean, she's always been an unbelievably good player, and just her career's been marred by injury a bit. But, touch wood, she's back. She's looking healthy. She's looking fit and fast out there. She's a crafty player. You can see her little manoeuvres she does out there to set people up. And let's not forget, the more she's out there, the more opportunities there are for set pieces. Her delivery is incredible, and that goal that McNamara scored, at the weekend was great, down to her delivery more than anything.
Now, I'll give you 2 more stats, but you can tell me about playing against her, because you were playing against her when she broke through as a teenager. 3rd in the league for expected assists, 2nd in the league for key passes, and that's the final pass before a shot on target, goal or not. So those are the numbers. That says how outstanding she is at creating, but what's she like to actually play against when she's out there? Because I think her first touch is actually one of the reasons that she brings so many players into the game.
And that's what you've got to be aware of, because if you're going to dive in on a player like that, you'll get skinned. So she's always a player that you've got to be very wary of. And then, she's got that added, I guess, tool of being able to hit a ball well, cross it in, play those balls in behind. Corners are exceptional as well. So she's got so many threats. She's a player you can't nullify completely. You just got to be aware of her, and perhaps they'll be looking at double teaming her.
Well, lots to look forward to in this double-headed semi-final between Melbourne-Victory and Adelaide United. Quick tip from each of you, who's going to go through?
Oh, that's a tough one. I haven't even given it.
I want to see the first leg, thanks.
Oh.
Yeah,
I think they'll draw the first leg.
I think Adelaide can win the first leg, actually. Yeah.
All right. Well, in our other semi-final matchup, of course, the Central Coast Mariners will have to face the might of Melbourne City after they completed their season undefeated and picked up the premiership plate.
Can you please make some noise? Our Invincibles, back-to-back premiers for 2024-25.
There you have it, City picking up the premiership plate, not for the first time either, is it? Can they do the double? It'll be an interesting matchup between them and the Mariners, but what I saw on the weekend, I think, they've got a bit of work to do.
They do, and I think the Mariners are in good form, and given that they've drawn both games, it certainly makes for a very interesting game.
Now, the first meeting was November the 16th, a 2-2 draw some time ago, but the Mariners caused turnovers and caused mistakes to score their 2 goals in that game. And the second time was New Year's Eve, a 0-0 draw where Melbourne City missed 2 penalties, one saved by Langman, one missed by Speckmeyer. So Melbourne City may have gone through the entire season undefeated, but the reason that the margin at the top of the league is so close to victory is because they weren't turning these draws into wins.
Yeah, and it's interesting always, teams that have the week off, can they, be ready for the pace of a finals game? So I think the Mariners will be confident in where they're at and wanting to pounce on a team that's just had a week off.
How do you think City will tackle the defensive setup?
I don't think they'll...
They won't worry about it?
No, I think the whole season they've just worried about themselves and done their thing. I don't think they'll pay too much attention to that. I think it's more about them doing what they do very well.
And you talk about having the week off, but they certainly set themselves up. Melbourne City did heading into that week off with a massive win, Teo, showing that they were ready for finals footy.
Yeah, and I think they will have done their homework on both teams that they could have potentially played once they found out the Sunday result. But it is one day less to work on it. And I think the Mariners are kind of fascinating because, at times against Canberra, they played a very high defensive line. We know that they like to press against Melbourne City and try to win the ball back high, but that might play into Melbourne City's hands with Holly McNamara out there because they love open space to break into. So it's kind of high risk, high reward for him, husband, I feel.
I can just see them being super conservative, super organised and try and get them on the break.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I think the Mariners might actually roll the dice and try to press high.
It's 2 legs though, Taylor. That's where my thinking comes in.
I think you want to actually keep the second leg alive by scoring at home and putting the heat on at home. And I think they'd be mindful of how just undeterred City were going away to an intimidating Newcastle last season. So the crowd has to turn up and create an environment for the Mariners. But I also think the Mariners need to rise to the occasion and try to win the first leg by trying to score.
Well, let's hear from a couple of the players right now on their expectations for that game. Here's Jade Pennock, followed by Taren King.
Obviously, they're a ball-playing team. We'll probably be a large part of the game without the ball, but we're fine with that. We can catch them on the counter and hopefully score a few goals ourselves.
Finals are a different monster, so it's one thing to win the league throughout the season, different thing to win finals. So it's a completely different beast, and we're up for it.
Well, they're definitely up for it. They said Izzy Gomez will absolutely be key for the Mariners in this one.
Absolutely, and I think she needs to be given that free rein to go forward when the time's right, because she's been fantastic going forward. It's a new sort of skill that she's shown, and I think Emily Husband giving her the opportunity to get forward has been a revelation.
What you can't do is what happened in the final against Canberra, and that's pick up an early yellow card. Otherwise, you're going to have the spot fires of Davidson, Hughes, McKenna, all working on the ball and circling you. And if you can't put in a tackle or leave a foot in because you picked up an early booking, that's just going to be free reign for Melbourne City in that midfield. So Gomez, as much as we love the physicality with which he plays, it cannot step over the line. I think it was 17th minute against Canberra, and kind of then had to play within herself, and really I think was at risk of getting sent off a couple of times. So that's important, the discipline for the Mariners midfield against a City midfield that we know love the ball and never want to give it away.
I think the whole Mariners setup need to be wary of that, because they've got players. Lourdes Bosch comes to mind, who is so good at manoeuvring, and you time a tackle wrong on her and you're up for another card. So that'll
either that or she's way past you down the pitch with her fancy feet. Taylor Ray is the big question mark for the Central Coast Mariners, going off injured and having to ice what looks like an ankle injury at the end of the game. If she's not fit, how do they fill that hole?
Yeah, she'll be a big void to fill, because she's such a consistent player and she can step into any role pretty much. So I'm thinking a Sarah Rowe could come in, Teo.
Look, I think Sarah Rowe's played better over the course of her career as a starter than as a player coming off the bench and getting up to the speed of the game. So for Taylor's sake, I hope she's okay. I mean, the initial scare was, is it another knee? Thankfully, thankfully it's not a knee, it's an ankle. But if she can't play, I'd start Rowe. But I think there's a real discussion to be had about Jessica Nash has to go back to the centre of defence and then working out your fullbacks.
And Taren King's had good minutes under her belt now, so she'll be back fighting fit as well. So, but hopefully, Taylor Ray is okay.
All right, well, let's have a look at the fixtures for this second semi-final. Leg 1, Central Coast Mariners will be at home against Melbourne City FC. That one kicking off Saturday at 2:15 at Industry Group Stadium. Of course, you can catch it on 10 Play and Bold. And the other game coming along Sunday at 4 p.m, a little later, Adelaide United playing host to Melbourne Victory at Cooper Stadium. That one coming your way on 10 Play and Paramount Plus. So let's find out what's coming up on Total A-Leagues.
Coming up on Total A-Leagues, we've got a massive final round to preview. A $1.2 million spot in Asia is up for grabs, as is the final spot in the top 6. We'll talk all that and more, as well as chatting to one of the breakout stars of this season, Melbourne City's Kai Trewin. Tommy, big show ahead. What are you looking forward to chatting about?
Huge show. Obviously, we saw Auckland clinch the premiership last weekend, and all to play for this weekend. Looking forward to the Sydney FC game in particular. Yeah, good stuff, mate. Big Saturday on the couch ahead. Catch Total A-Leagues every Wednesday on YouTube, the A-Leagues website and app.
Great stuff. Thanks, Vince and Tommy. But let's talk about these elimination semi-finals. Of course, I asked you guys who would go through from the first one, but I didn't get a tip on the second one. So who's going to win the first leg?
I'm going to say draw again.
Oh, you're just taking the easy basket.
Sitting on the fence,
Teresa.
I truly think that's what's going to happen.
No, I think a score draw. I think the Mariners can score, and I think they will take the game to Melbourne City, and we will have a live tie in the second leg.
Well, 2 massive games coming up where Teresa's going to get splinters in her bottom from sitting on the fence. You can watch it all, 10 Play, Bold and Paramount Plus. Thanks for your company on Dub Zone this week. A big thank you to Teo Pellizzeri and Teresa Polias as well. We look forward to your company at one of the games or, of course, on television, and we'll be back to review it all and have a look at the second leg next week.